are you, Derek?
I love this clip. It's the ultimate call-out clip. So yeah, he's running on the beach there. A lot of Usyk's conditioning drills are like low intensity running. Running on the beach is taking away impact forces around the lower body limbs. And he also does some underwater treadmill running. These are methods to take away like them impact forces of the lower body, which is crucial for him being heavyweight, gaining mass in a short amount of time as he's moving up from cruiserweight to heavyweight. And also his age as well. He's in his mid-30s now, taking them impact forces away from the joints now. For heavyweights, I would look to do some more high-intensity protocols, some repeated sprints or max effort sprint work to improve their kind of tolerance and exposure to muscular acidosis, and also being able to control that as well. I normally do this on the air bike or different forms of modality because they can't really be exposed to them high forces and high speeds during running, because of their large body mass, exposing themselves to high impact forces. This increases the likelihood of injury, but also it limits their ability to expose themselves to some high intensities. I'll be able to push an athlete, a heavyweight athlete, much harder on the air bike than I would do on the curve. Now, this is what it looks like what Usyk's doing here. He's getting his like low intensity stimulus during running activity, but he actually changes up his high intensity conditioning using different modalities which are non-running based. Things like CrossFit, air bike, the skier, and the rowing machine as well. So he goes more high intensity on the non-running modalities, but then gets his low intensity work through running. And I think this is a fantastic way, and this is exactly how I've trained and conditioned a heavyweight boxer. Let's take a look at Usyk's non-running based conditioning methods. Now, the main one that is adopted quite recently when moving up to heavyweight is CrossFit. This is a much debated area, and something that I get asked quite a lot across boxing science is, what do I think to CrossFit for boxing? Is it beneficial or is it harmful? For Usyk, I think it's quite beneficial, but in most cases, I don't. I'll go for the reason why I don't think it's that beneficial for boxing. We want to optimize adaptation, whatever we want it to do. When we're doing strength work, we're wanting to optimize the rate of force development in a maximum strength or in a strength speed or speed strength phase. And we need to limit the amount of reps, optimize that intensity to stimulate physiological adaptation. We have to do this in running. If we're looking for central, peripheral, or muscle buffering adaptations, we're working to very specific speed and intensity to overload the athlete to be able to create physical adaptations. CrossFit is exactly what it says on the tin. It's a combination of different types of fitness. It challenges your strength, power, endurance, cardio within one session. So really, we're not optimizing anything. I'd say to separate the two. When you're doing your strength, concentrate on strength, whether that's working on maximum strength or working on power. In your conditioning, whatever it is on the 3 pillars, whether red zone adaptations or working on maximum sprints, optimize the adaptation there, keep it separate. One of the main limitations of CrossFit as well is performing stuff like cleans and deadlifts under a fatiguing scenario. So this can end up being quite dangerous for an athlete. If somebody is wanting to actually use CrossFit in their program, so what Usyk is doing here is adapting the CrossFit kind of methods and putting it into a more controlled setting. And it sounds like this is what Usyk is doing here. Now, the reason why I think it's quite beneficial for Usyk is because he's probably quite late to strength conditioning in terms of like improving his strength, his maximum strength and everything like that. He's probably started doing it mid-30s. The gains that he's going to get in maximum strength is probably limited. Is he going to become a power puncher at heavyweight? Probably not. He needs to optimize his fitness. What we just mentioned then about the low intensity running, he needs to be exposed to high intensities, high forces, under fatigue. He's not going to get that through sprinting. 35, getting a lot heavier, probably picked up a lot of kind of lower body injuries. Using CrossFit, variations of CrossFit, can be actually quite beneficial as long as it's controlled in the right way. There's other non-running based activities, the air bike, the rowing machine, and also the skier. The air bike is something that we use quite often at Boxing Science. We use it with heavyweight boxers all the time because we can really expose themselves to them real high force and high speed demands under fatigue. So we'll do some maximum effort sprints, 30 seconds on, 3 minutes off, and also repeated sprint training as well. So the air bike is probably my favorite non-running based activity. So the rowing machine, I get asked this quite a lot as well, a good conditioning tool for boxing. For me, you need to be proficient at the technique to be able to go at a decent level of intensity to target the adaptations they wanted to target. I get asked whether to do 30-second max out sprints on it. Probably can't do that because you can't reach the amount of speed and output that you need to create them demands, them peripheral adaptations. Muscle buffering, doing 2 minutes on, 3 minutes off, that can be quite good. It's probably favoured because you can increase muscular acidosis through this. And then central adaptations, so getting up to the red zone, I'd probably say not. because you need that kind of speed and repetition. As you can see with Usyk here, he's really pushing and grinding through that movement. He's probably not getting up to the red zone on this. I might be wrong, but really you need kind of that speed and repetition, especially for boxing, especially how fit they are, to be able to get up into that red zone. So yeah, so like a rowing protocol would be something like 2 minutes on with 2 to 3 minutes recovery, anywhere between 6 and 8 repetitions. Now for the upper body ski erg, I think this is a good exercise, but for athletes that are probably carrying a lower body injury or use as part of a circuit when you're working for upper body conditioning, lower body conditioning. At Boxing Science, we don't have access to ski erg, but we'll use something like battle ropes as part of a circuit for some upper body conditioning. I think the upper body ski erg is good. You can actually do 30-second max out sprints on this, but what I would say is when you're looking for them max force and speed outputs, you might want to be controlling that postural stability, that postural control, because you might end up coming into kyphosis whilst doing this and it not looking like a great exercise to do. Using it as part of a circuit can be quite beneficial, or using it with athletes that are carrying a lower limb injury. These footwork drills, it looks like they're actually doing this under a time constraint and doing it high volume. Says to me that this is part of his actual conditioning routine instead of like kind of doing it speed based. And I'm a fan of this. Like I said, we're not getting them high intensity adaptations from his running because he's reducing their running loads. Creating that speed intent under conditioning stimulus can increase spikes in heart rate, can increase a spike in muscular acidosis, so you're getting some muscle buffering capacity working there as well, but also improving lower body endurance, concentration, timing under fatigue as well. Now this is something that we actually use as part of our circuits. We'll do like Ollie shuffles, but instead of just doing the 2 lengths, so 1 length either way, we actually do this under time constraint, whether that's 15 or 20 seconds, and give them a target as well. And you can see that our athletes find this quite difficult to do, increases the heart rate, and also blood lactate levels as well in this.